Let's Take This Outside with Marianne Iveson, the podcast where she speaks to athletes, outdoor professionals, and scientists about why they connect with nature.
Chris Watson, born and bred in Scotland, is a creative force behind The Adventure Diaries, a podcast that delivers authentic stories of adventure, exploration, and the natural world. Chris spends much of his time outdoors, hiking and paddling in the Scottish highlands, and has a passion for wild places and adventures. Please welcome Chris Watson. Chris Watson, welcome to Let's Take This Outside. I'm so glad we could finally do this.
Likewise. Thank you, Marianne. It's an absolute pleasure to join you today.
What time is it there right now?
8:15 almost.
Is that late for you?
Yeah, it's in the evening. It's dark. It's cold. Yeah, that's Scotland in a short.
Yeah, I don't know Celsius. You guys use Celsius, right?
We do, yes, we do, yeah.
What's kind of the average temperatures in winter there?
Oh, I feel bad now because it's nothing like that, actually. It's about probably 2 degrees at the moment, but we are just on the back of a horrendous storm, which is once in a generation. So we had winds of 120 miles per hour and stuff. So that was in last weekend. We had a power cut in our house. It was all quite exciting, but not entirely in the good sense. But it was, we had to sit with head torches on, which I haven't done indoors. I've done that hiking plenty of times, but not in the house.
Oh, wow. Everyone's okay? Everyone's good?
Yeah. So there were some unfortunate fatalities in the country, but in the large scheme of things, I think it was cosmetic damage, lots of trees and stuff. So yeah, back to your question, it's nowhere near as cold as what you are. I think we get down to those types of temperatures in the highlands, but thankfully not in the central belt where I reside at the moment.
Do you get snow? Is that a stupid question?
We do, yeah. We get plenty of snow, yeah. So we had a little flutter at the weekend, but I live, so it's quite it's nothing in comparison to Canada in terms of Scotland, but I live in the central belt where it's much more temperate than it is in the Highlands. So the Highlands is beautiful at this time of year. It is blanketed in snow. Hopefully be up there at the weekend with my little girl, taking some of that wonderful fresh air and scenery, and with the dog as well.
What kind of winter stuff do you do?
I'm not actually a big winter sports person. I like to hike and I like to see it. And one thing that I haven't managed to do yet is kayaking in the winter and a bit of a snowscape, which I'm trying to fit in because I'm not long back from Mexico in a family vacation and I missed the cold snap. We had a very short window of winter weather and it looked fantastic. So I was sitting in the sun looking back at Instagram and could see all the snow-capped mountains and stuff, and I wish I could have went back for a day to kayak amongst it and then got back to the sun.
Beautiful. I'm going to ask you more about Scotland too, but I want to go back to the beginning. Where did your love of nature begin? Because you have this, we're kind of similar, you're the Scottish version of me in terms of outdoor podcasts. So where did it all begin?
Well, I grew up in the city, so right in the city when I was a kid. So we weren't far from a river, actually. So the River Clyde in Glasgow, and I used to bunk off and go way down to the riverside and splash around, and that just being, I'm not sure if this translates or not, but it was almost like a concrete jungle to an extent where we lived. It was classed as tenements, so there was not a lot of greenery around, so it was quite concrete.
Yeah, we use that concrete jungle for sure, yeah. So
it was kind of like that, and that was, great. It is what it is. But I kind of liked the greenery. I liked the kind of escape. So we used to go away into the woods or down to the river, and that just fascinated me, turning rocks, building swings, dipping in the water. I couldn't swim back then, weirdly, but I used to like getting in the water and playing around in that, and just bugs and everything else. I've been fascinated. My uncle, who's no longer with us, was a big inspiration in terms of buying me a lot of manuals and books, and we used to do a little bit of bird watching and just that kind of stuff. It was always in me from a kid.
How many kids do you have?
One. I have a little daughter.
Oh, you have one?
Yeah.
You have the daughter. Yeah, I know you have a daughter. I wasn't sure if you had more. Yeah. So now, as an adult, what kind of outdoor stuff do you do and love? Clearly a lot on the water.
I think kind of going back a little bit. I kind of fell away from a lot of the stuff for a long time. Kind of chased into different interests, but also, from a career wise. So I kind of fell away from that a lot and had a lot of struggles with certain things, and then it kind of reignited that passion for adventure just before COVID. So in between that, so I'm jumping ahead a lot. There was a long, couple of decades where I still done adventurous things, but I wouldn't necessarily have classed myself as, or I identified as that type of person. But then after, when the pandemic came and going through a lot of introspection and a lot of looking back at things, I was like, I need to do something different with my life. This is not helping me, because I used to I travelled a lot. I still travel a lot with my job, but I went from travelling all the time, being non-stop, flat out, not having time for anything else, family, friends, or nature or the outdoors, to that just coming to a complete standstill, like everyone else when the pandemic hit. And that just gave me the opportunity to, like I say, that introspection, figure out what I needed to do next. And that's when I've said this in other shows, rediscovered adventure, and it just unlocked everything. And I went back to learning kayaking, got reignited for that. Now a paddle sports instructor on that journey, so I'm at stage one of what I hope will be a longer self-development path as well. And that just opened up all sorts of opportunities and avenues, and it's really given me a sense of purpose. So yeah, it's been a bit of a topsy-turvy journey to get to where I am at the minute, but adventures now, through everything in the podcast, it's predominantly kayaking, hiking, a little bit of climbing, not too much. But with my daughter, she's now at an age where we're like two peas in a pod. She just loves it all as well. So
how old is she?
She's 9. She will be 10 not long after probably this goes live. She just loves getting in the mix with all of that, and it's great.
I was just talking to another podcast guest, and she's kind of like an expert in equity and inclusion in sport. And it's crazy that for women and for girls, they tend to drop off around, I think it's 13 or 15 years old in sports. So it's very cool to hear that you're ingraining in that early. I'm assuming that'll be hopefully a lifelong thing for her. Yeah,
and actually, and I don't want to take all the credit for this, it has always been my intention to instill good habits and try and create a bond with Nina that would continue into later life. So without getting too deep on backstory and stuff, I'm trying to break a cycle essentially, where I want to make sure mistakes that were probably made with me growing up that I don't make with my daughter. And I was always thinking about, I don't want to tell her what to do. I want her to experience it and find out herself, but I want that connection. I'm in a family that are dominated by women, quite frankly. So, and I'm like, I don't want that relationship to ever, dissipate or be fractured or anything. So I always thought, what kind of hobbies? Because I like football or soccer, as it may be known over there, and she doesn't, because she does kind of girly things, but she likes to be active. And through the podcast, and we'll probably talk about the format of my podcast in time, but I have what's classed as a call to adventure. So the guests give recommendations. And there's a woman who was on, Cathy O'Dowd, who is the first South African to, I think, climb Everest, first woman to climb Mount Everest and the first South African to do it from both sides. I may be getting that the wrong way around, but fantastic lady and some great stories. And she said to me, take your kids to an indoor climbing gym. And it just stuck with me. And I took my little girl to a bouldering gym, and, a year later, we are members. We still go as much as we can, and it's the thing that we do together without anybody else. She has all the equipment. She looks forward to packing it all, and she looks forward to going together and getting a little bar of Tony's Chocolonely or whatever it is at the end of it. She just loves it, and that's now something I want to, if I look forward in 10, 15 years' time, I would like to think at least once or twice a month that we are still doing that together.
I think that's wonderful. I've never been to Scotland before. It's on the list. But can you share, I can brag about Canada all day and all night. It's an amazing, beautiful, vast, huge, massive gorgeous country. But Scotland is its own kind of gem. Can you share why it's such a great place to play outside?
Oh, it's got so many things to offer. I'm actually looking over the monitor. I mean, I actually got as a gift at Christmas there, I got a full size map of Scotland to replace one that I had. I mean, as a Scots person, I've rediscovered the love of the country over the past few years. And I stare at that map every day. I'm planning adventures. It gets so much to offer. It's kind of broken into quite a small country. I mean, I think there's only like 4 or 5 million people and they're all congregated around the handful of cities. It's got 2 national parks, and they offer a lot in terms of like a shrunken down part of Canada. And then when you get beyond the central belt into the highlands, it's very mountainous. I mean, we don't have some of the biggest peaks that you got over North America, but we don't have the threat of bears. We don't have the threat of dangerous wildlife, which is always a plus side. But it has so many fantastic trails. The fishing is phenomenal. There's loads of first descents that are still ready for people that may be mountaineers or climbing. Culturally, it's very diverse. The different cities that are not that far apart, an hour or two's drive, slightly different cultures, slightly different dialects, very different food, always very welcoming. There is so much to offer. It is a small island and you can get coast to coast quite quickly, but the terrain between those coasts can be extremely wild. Some of the beaches that we have on the islands on the west coast will give the Bahamas a run for the money, and people don't realise that. The temperature is completely different, though. You can't go butt naked swimming in a lot of these places unless you want to freeze your bits.
Because you're pretty much in the ocean in a lot of places, right?
Yeah, it is so wild in certain areas that has a lot, whether that's kayaking, canoeing, canyoning, the wildlife as well is fantastic. There's so much to do. And the beaches, it's got some of the best beaches in the world. And that's not just me saying that, that's like the likes of National Geographic. You'll see some of these.
I'm writing this down. I've never heard of Scotland being famous for the beaches, so I'm actually going to Google this as soon as we're done. Yeah,
if you go to my Instagram page and look on the reels, you'll see a kayaking expedition that we ran last year to the Isle of Mull. And you'll see some of the pictures of the golden sandy beaches. But it's cold. I'm not going to lie, it's freezing.
But at least you can hang out in the sun.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much. It's even stepping away from like the true outdoors the people are fantastic, right? We have a lot of rivalries within the country, like the East and West. We'll have a lot to say about each other and stuff, but there's so much cultural heritage, the castles and all that. The mountains are so dramatic, the folklore and the food, and if anyone likes to drink, whiskey, and that's where it all starts, golf, you name it. It's such a small country. It is so wild. And it's got the best drinking water on the planet. I will not hear otherwise from anyone else. And if anyone wants to troll me, feel free.
I'm writing all these things down for when eventually we go.
No, I'll give you a list after this, Marianne. I'll give you a list of the top places. There's lots of tourist traps as well, because there are trails, and there's something called the North Coast 500, which is a kind of route that was created, and these places get jam packed with camper vans and people and stuff like that. So there are hot spots that you need to avoid.
Yes, please send some over. Flip side, have you ever been to Canada, A? And B, before we hit record, you said you almost moved here. Like you were ready to come. What happened?
Yeah, so back in 2001, I think it was. Yeah, 2001, I had plans to emigrate and move to Canada. So I spent a bit of time in Toronto and surrounding with a family friend. Yeah, we were setting up the plans to move and emigrate, and I was applying for all the paperwork. I had a sponsor. I'd been to some conferences. I was sounding out jobs. It was all lined up, and came back to Scotland for a little while and went on a week away to Ibiza to almost say farewell, and came back and met my wife, who is now my wife 24 years later. So kind of fell in love. And weirdly, we were talking about this last night, and we were telling my daughter the story about this. I don't know why. It's weird that this came up 2 days in a row, but my wife, girlfriend then, obviously she didn't know any of this until about 6 or 7 months after we were dating.
Oh, she didn't know you were about to move to Canada.
She didn't know.
So you met her, you're like, oh, this is my wife. And then you're like, no, you know what? Screw my plans. I'm staying here.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I love
exactly that. So
that's love.
Yeah, so I've been to Canada. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, and we are hoping to come back at some point soon. I particularly loved like Niagara. Went to around about Niagara on the lake and out into the country.
Yeah, it's a great spot,
and it was fantastic. So
I have like a million places you could probably go, but of course everyone wants to go to the Rocky Mountains, right? But I went to Newfoundland, which I might actually feel like home to you a little bit, which is like the east coast of Canada. It's absolutely stunning, very rugged, very cool. If someone was to come visit, where would you send them and what activity would you do?
To Scotland?
Yes.
Oh.
Say you had like a group of people who loved adventure and they're like, Chris, where are you bringing us and what are we doing?
So I'm very biased. So we have a little kind of holiday home caravan type thing down on Loch Lomond, which is very accessible from Glasgow or Edinburgh airport. So I would find time to spend a day or two around Loch Lomond, get out on the water, get to some of the islands, have some good food, see some of the sights. There are some fantastic spots around the loch, but don't stop there. Head up into the highlands and go to a place called Glencoe and do some of the hikes and the trails around Glencoe. That is some of the most fantastic, dramatic scenery that the country has to offer. And it has a lot of history as well, a lot of great wildlife. So yeah, come to the Central Belt, spend a bit of time in Glasgow, find some nice restaurants and get prepared to come down to Loch Lomond. Loch Lomond to me is a little bit, I always think, have you ever watched the programme Ozark? Yeah. It reminds me of the Ozarks, but much smaller and prettier. I am biased.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
You've had some pretty impressive guests on the Adventure Diaries, but something that I'm like, of course, I was like, I wanted to see if we've had any of the same guests, but you've had the one and only Ray Zahab, who is actually from pretty much where I'm from. I've met Ray a few times. We met when he was like going up this, it's called Camp Fortune. It's like the ski hill, and he was running repeats with his wife, and he sat and talked there. We talked for like half an hour. Very, very kind, great storyteller, really cool guy. Anyway, I was really impressed to see that you had Ray Zahab on, and how did your chat go with him?
Oh, that was fantastic. Yeah, that was in the first season, and so yeah, and we follow. I mean, I would love to meet Ray one day. I think everything he's done, his own story, the things he's continuing to do are very inspiring, and all the stuff he's doing through Impossible to Possible, and Capit One, and some of the people that's been on his expeditions that he's taught and mentored, I've had on my show as well. So it's that whole chain reaction about like I mean, and I hope he knows this, but the impact he has on others, like the impact he's had on me, even from afar, from, you know, that conversation and me reaching out and learning about certain things and bring my daughter into that fold and watching and seeing what he's doing with his daughter. It's like, it's these chain reactions that happen after it. It's not just a conversation. The stuff that he's doing is extremely inspiring, and I still speak to other people. I've made friends elsewhere in the show as well who also talk very fondly about Ray, and they've actually met him or have spoken to him. So he's
a legend.
Yeah, it's and that language doesn't come lightly. And I've never met Ray. I reached out to him completely cold. He said yes. We kind of got on. We had just this fantastic, honest, raw chat, and it really struck with me. And I love everything he's doing with his daughter Mia as well. I've seen that she's smashing it in her own sport as well, and he's such a great kind of father in that respect, and I take a lot from that as a father with a young daughter, and he likes. I always get a little bit of excitement when he likes a post or he comments and stuff as well. It's
you get a little yeah. Seeing his I don't think I've ever met his daughters before, but like seeing them grow up and going from like. Even a few years ago, what he posts on social media from like they run together and one of them kayaks and like seeing them go on like backcountry like trail running stuff together. I'm like, I know they live near Gatineau Park, which is kind of like the playground here. I don't want to say living the dream because I know what they do is really hard, but exactly. I love that you got to chat with them. That's so great.
Yeah, and I think going back to that. Him giving his time up to a complete stranger like me, I mean, I really appreciate that, and I took a lot from it, and I'm paying that gift forward to an extent, as much as I can in terms of what I have to offer. And I had a lady, Valerie Gagne, who goes by the moniker the Running Panda, and she was one of Ray's mentees, and everything she told me about how Ray's mentorship and stuff like that, we just need more people in the planet doing that type of thing, like you and I are doing on this show as well. If we can do our bit to encourage people to go and try these things and live a bit more adventurously and stop waiting for permission, and if you need help, just ask, because nobody's going to judge you or bite your hand off. People are willing to help you, and it's brilliant. So everything he's doing, Capic 1, Impossible to Impossible, is brilliant.
Yeah, and even like just a point of what you just made, I'm really trying to talk to a lot of people who are kind of breaking down barriers. There is a woman named Judy. She runs a thing here called Color the Trails and really encourages people of color to get outside because there are barriers around that too. Getting women to get outside more, LGBTQ communities. So I think as long as we're featuring these people, we're really trying to do our best to make sure that, hey, everyone is welcome outdoors, right?
Yeah, and by the time this goes live, I mean, I'm trying to make sure that I strike the balance to not tick boxes. It's absolutely not that. It's absolutely to make sure that people are getting a platform, because, and not for the sake of that, because it's not about, let's say ticking boxes or marginalised people or whatever. It's making sure that these people don't feel that I don't want anybody. I want this to be as inclusive. We want everybody to win. We want everybody to have the same opportunities, and bringing that balance. Hopefully that people that may feel like they're a minority when they shouldn't be, listening or seeing some of this, will have that courage or inspiration or that spark or whatever, or that little bit of motivation just to get up and go and do something. So I've got some guests coming up by the time this goes live that will hopefully. I mean, I've had such a diverse range of guests and a load that have been recorded that haven't gone live yet as well. So I'll not say too much about that at the minute. But I agree wholeheartedly. It's everyone is welcome. Nobody has any right to say that people aren't, and people that don't behave.
We're
like
all
that.
part of nature.
Yeah, exactly.
We are nature, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll put my soapbox away. Sorry, I'm getting out. Yeah, because I'm quite passionate about that, because I go to a lot of conferences now and I hear people talking and it pisses me off when people are, because you can see some of it within the industry a little bit that sometimes people might not be getting the opportunities that they should be getting, and
absolutely
whether it's whether it's race, creed, monetary, whatever it is, it shouldn't be happening. So everybody's welcome in my podcast is the point, and I'm sure they are on yours.
Let's Take This Outside now has a newsletter. Keep up to date with outdoor news, events, and great discount codes and deals from our partners. Sign up today at letstakethisoutside.ca.
Chris, what's inspired you to start the Adventure Diaries?
Oh, that is a complex question, which has...
Is this a separate podcast?
Yes,
Does this need a whole separate...
It is. So I had a bit of the idea for a while. So I think, I've told this story a couple of times now, that like I travel a lot, so I work and I have a corporate career, so this isn't my full-time job. So I have a corporate career and I go to conferences and we often have people on stage talking and giving motivational stuff. Through that, when I travel all the time, I consume National Geographic. I read all these adventure books and I listen to all these podcasts and I watch Disney Plus and Discovery Channel and then I thought I'd like to have a more meaningful conversation with these people and a different conversation, and how could I go about that? And then when the pandemic hit and we stopped travelling and we spent most of our days sitting on Microsoft Teams or Zoom calls, I was like, ugh, I'm not travelling, I'm not getting my escapism, I'm not getting to listen to the podcasts that I listen to, I'm not getting a chance to read. So I was like, if I can sit for 8 hours a day on a call with someone talking about IT, doing deals on IT or whatever it is in Zoom calls, I can find an hour at night to have a conversation with someone sitting at the same desk, but talking about something interesting. And that was it. But the complex part of the layers to the onion are, I also had some kind of real personal challenges and a degree of, issues that I had to sort out from like kind of trauma, I don't have any of my parents, and that's part of the backstory. So there was a lot of things to unpack, and I was finally convinced that I needed to go and get some therapy for that, which was the best thing that I've probably ever done. And then through that, helped me deal with a lot of that, but understand myself, but understand more importantly the things that I was passionate about. So stop consuming myself with working every minute of every day and burning myself out and not spending time with relationships or nature. And through that, I managed to work out where my passion lay and all the stuff that I'd done when I was younger and all the adventures that I used to do. And then it was like a light bulb moment, right? How do I combine these two? And then the Adventure Diaries was born like that on a Sunday evening. I took the action, and I'll tell you, I haven't told anybody. I went, I wrote a list of people down, and I've still got it on a board to my left, and I've ticked most of them off. I went and I thought, who of those individuals do I think I could actually reach, and how would I reach them? And I thought about it in the way that I think about my day job, like in terms of like pitching and trying to present myself. And I signed up for a LinkedIn sales navigator account, and it cost me about $100 or something.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to get past the gatekeeper with some of these people. And Ray was one of them as well. So I contacted Ray Zahab. I contacted Terry Virts, NASA astronaut. And
I was impressed by that. I'm like, how did he get in?
Yeah.
How did he do that?
And that's a bit of a tip for you or anyone else that is listening is, don't do what everyone else is doing, and you need to lead with something that of value. It shouldn't be about, can you do this for me? It should be, what can you do for them? And I think that's where my format in the show kind of helped me open those gates. And when I was lying in bed with my wife and I got a response from Zay and I got a response from Terry Virts, I was like, well, now I need to do it. I need to do it. So,
and now you got to do it.
Yeah,
you got into this.
Yeah, so I had to then go and figure out all the software and signed the domain. I'd created all the branding and stuff actually not long after, and then realised I couldn't get the domain, and I was like, oh shit. So then
and what'd you do?
I had to, that was a long negotiation from the person that owned the domain. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I did get the domain and then realised I had misspelled it, and so it was Adventure. It was Adventure Dairies. So. And that, I think that, and that's my ADHD / dyslexia kicking in. And then it wasn't until I was doing the podcast cover, and I was like, oh my God. And then when I went to register Adventure Diaries,
sorry for laughing. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
I'm so sorry.
And I do that all. I still do that to this day. It's like even see when I'm putting stuff on Instagram, I need to be very careful that I'm writing Adventure Diaries and not Adventure Dairies, because
just like run it through ChatGPT before you post it. Just run it through and make sure there's no like. I have two thoughts on what you just said.
Yep.
One, selfishly, I kind of treat my podcast like therapy It feels like having these really beautiful conversations with these people who also love the outdoors feels like therapy to me, number one. And number two, I find that a lot of people, that it sounds like you don't have the problem either. I never have a problem finding guests because people love talking about the outdoors. Those are 2 points I wanted to make to you.
As a form of therapy for me, I get so much from it. Even this conversation now, I just like people that are in the same headspace that want to do these things, talk about these things. It's like a reciprocal. There's a good energy. It's like we're on the same. We want to do the same things, and we want the ideas about places to go and things to do and experience, and it's a form of like adult play for me. It's a form of entertainment, and it's like it is a form of therapy. And the second point, there is no shortage of it. I mean, the thing that I've always said about my podcast, I won't take anyone that just kind of reaches out, because I'm now at the point where people reach out all the time. And initially it was me reaching out because I wanted to make sure I know the people and I understand, or at least certainly have time to research it, and that it has got something compelling, or a platform or such that would help the listeners. And everybody has... people just love to talk and tell their story, and I think I used to worry about, I'm going to run out of guests or it's going to dry up. And now I put something on Instagram about season 4 last night. I'm still in season 3. Season 4 should be out by the time this goes live, but I've probably got enough guests to take me up to season 7 or 8 at the moment before even reaching out to anybody else. I'm now getting publicists sending me books and stuff, and I'm
yeah, it's great.
It's just... yeah, so ultimately, I mean, I want to do this full time because I'd love to be able to have a conversation like this every day if I could. But I'm probably a number of years away from that at the minute. I promise that I get you when you say these things. I really understand. Yeah. There are definitely a few themes, like common themes amongst my guests. And I have a feeling it's very similar for you. Is there any common themes that you find that the guests say kind of over and over again? Or is there anything that you're like, all these people have something in common? Or like, what do you see? I think in terms of like threads and trends and commonality, and I'm sure I said this before to someone, it's a lot of people that love to do hard things, and I'm not always sure what drives. I kind of know, I'm starting to understand what drives me to do that a little bit, and it is about kind of proving some stuff to myself, but always like kind of testing limits. I like the little bit of adventure, a little bit of danger, not too much, and that's a common thing. And I'm not, because I know I've had, like, say, quite open about the therapy stuff that I've had to work through, and I often wonder, is everyone else going through something in nature and adventure? Is that way of self-medicating to an extent? Yes. Is that what it is? Yes. Yeah, I think it is. Yes. But it's probably the best form of self-medication we could ever have. It's like, it has, without getting too woo-woo, it has so many benefits just being in nature, touching the trees, touching the soil, touching the water, breathing it in, all the stuff that the trees give off. It does have scientific benefits. It does. Yeah. 100%. And I think what we were saying before we recorded is a lot of our guests will do really, really difficult, hard things. Maybe sometimes things that you and I couldn't do. I mean, I couldn't do what probably could if I tried, but the stuff that Ray does is, I mean, he does some like ultra. I can't run across a desert. Exactly. Are you serious? Exactly. No. It's like, no, I cannot do that. But it's making it accessible, because Ray can still bridge that gap by giving suggestions to do stuff a little bit more local that are accessible. And that's kind of what I do in the show as well. And it's making sure that people do have that opportunity to do something. It doesn't need to be grandiose, because it's all subjective. Nobody is keeping a scorecard, whether you have run across the opposite desert from Ray or whatever. Nobody's comparing that. People will root for you if you do that, but nobody's saying, marking you down for not doing it. So if you go and do something that's local, I went last week or the week before, my little girl and my dog, and we impromptu got up in the morning, drove 2 hours to a beach, and got there and just sat playing around, waiting for the sun to set, and then came home. And that was just like 4 hours. So nice. And it was phenomenal. And we had just come back from Mexico, and we'd done some stuff similar, but that one day those 3-4 hours. That's just, I don't know what it is. It was something to do with the light. It was something to do with me and my little girl, and she was learning to play with the drone, and we were playing with the dog, and that's just now imprinted in my head. And that's an adventure. It's not climbing Everest, but it's just a local adventure. And
it's all the little things. It's all those everyday, beautiful, small moments. Maybe it might be hard to nail down, but who is one of the most inspiring people that you've featured so far on your podcast?
Yeah, well, Ray for sure is one of them. It was said, but
I know it's hard. It's like picking your favorite child. It's funny because I've had a few conversations in the past this week with people that have started following me on Instagram, asking me to recommend episodes, and I think in terms of like true inspiration, I did have a chap called Jeff Holt, MBE, and he so MBE, for anyone that's, it's like Medal of the British Empire, so it's like awarded by the, I didn't know what that was.
Awarded by the
is it like being knighted?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's like knighted for like contribution to, like sport or
society. Yeah.
And he had a bad accident when he was, I think he was 19 or so, in the British Virgin Islands. He dived off a boat and he broke his neck. Basically became severely disabled, so he's paraplegic. But he was into sailing before that. He then went and sailed across the Atlantic. On a boat, and his story about doing that and how he inspires, and then he became the Yachtsman of the Year and all this stuff he's done. And he runs a charity called Wet Wheels now, and it's customised boats that allow people in wheelchairs to go out and have that experience of being on the water and taking control and stuff. And that always sticks with me about the work that he's doing, because again, the whole accessibility thing.
Right, back to what we were talking about, right?
And I've had other adventurers on that have had, injuries and spinal cord injuries, and there's some guys at the minute. There's a guy, Darren Edwards, who I've not had on the show yet, but I'm hoping to soon. He's in a wheelchair. He had a spinal cord injury, but he's off to Antarctica to do it to a race. So it's all that, and he runs an adaptive adventure company, which is phenomenal. It's like they're out kayaking and stuff, and it's just wonderful. It's a difficult thing to hone in, because I think every conversation that I have, it just seems to get better and better for me. And the last episode that at the time of recording went live was with a guy, Tom Williams, who I had the fortune of meeting in Lisbon for brunch. And that was wonderful. That was a real pinch me moment, getting to meet someone who I'd watched on TV winning Alone in the UK, the survival show, connecting, going for brunch, having them on the show. And it's like, and that's so inspiring. Because he had a very difficult upbringing as well. He had a lot of things to deal with. And he's kind of really, his life now, he runs a company, Desert Island Survival. He's just doing phenomenal stuff. And everyone can take something from all these stories. So
doesn't it feel like a little bit selfish because you get so much joy out of it?
It is, yeah. It's the most public guilty pleasure I think anyone could have. It's terrible, because I try not to fanboy a lot of the time on these, and it is it's so rewarding. Yeah. And
also seeing your guests like just succeed and like see how they're doing. I had this really wonderful woman named Lindsay Webster. She was like top, Spartan games, like obstacle racing. She was starting to trail run. She won, like after I interviewed her, she won like the World Sky Running Series. Wow. And now she's a mother, and to see that and see her hiking, and so to see, your guests, like how they're handling life and navigating life, whether it's through social media or if you're friends with them or whatever that is. Yeah, it's a really cool experience.
I just want everybody to win. I've said it before. We only get one shot at this life, and competition is healthy to an extent, but there's too much negativity and too much stress and everything that goes on with things. It's like, let's all just have a bit more fun and encourage each other and lift each other up. And because there's more to be had from that and the opportunities open than bringing people down. So can I flip that around? With exception of who you just mentioned, who's your favourite guest and why?
Oh, why would you ask me that? I feel like I have to go back in my... I've mentioned a few of them. I had a really great woman named Megan J. Ward. So it was funny because her husband's named Paul Ziska, and he's one of the best photographer, like nature photographers. They live in Banff, Alberta. I had reached out to Paul, and Megan was managing from the back end. She's like, hey, I'd love to set you up with an interview with Paul, but I'd also love to chat with you too. And then I get to know Megan, and Megan and I have an interview. She's a writer. She's incredibly creative. She's their parents, and I now have her book. And she just helped create a documentary called Wildflowers that's based in the Rocky Mountains. You know, I haven't met her in person yet. Hopefully, I'll meet her in March. She's coming for the Royal Canadian Geographical Society. They do Cangeo talks.
Yeah.
So I'll meet her in March, which is excellent. I've talked to like scientists who also like open my eyes about nature. A woman named Jill Heinerth. I'm working my way through the explorers and residents of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society.
I've done a little bit of the same exactly in the UK. Yes, I've got a list. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, Jill Heinerth, she, dove into iceberg. Like there's too many.
Yeah.
I get something from every single guest that I've interviewed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's also really nice. Like this kind of feels, I don't know if you know the term like inside baseball, like we're kind of talking about podcasting. But I love this episode, and I know we're still in it, but I love this episode because it's just like two podcasters who also love nature, who are also doing the same thing, but also have so much in common. And like, it kind of makes me feel like, I'm self-employed. I work from home. So it makes me feel less alone. It makes me feel like, oh yeah, there's other people doing this too,
It's funny you say that because when I started this, there is another called the Adventure Podcast, and that was a bit of an inspiration for me. And I've actually interviewed Matt, who hosts that. And it's only through the past few months doing more research and seeing that there's people like yourself and that out there doing this as well. And it's weird because then when you go and look at the episodes and the topics, and you're like, I'm not the weirdo. I'm not just the one weird person that's into all this stuff. There's all the people that listen, and there's all these other podcast hosts doing it as well. So it starts to feel
we have more in common than we don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because it would be remiss of me to not say one other guest is a guy called Anders Andersen.
His name's Anders Andersen?
He is a Danish guy, and he moved from Denmark, and he lives in Guyana, and he runs a company called The Wild Tales, and they do jungle expeditions with indigenous people. And he is a fixer for all the TV shows that go to the jungle down there. So anything you've seen on National Geographic, Naked and Afraid, all these types of stuff, he's the guy that helps fix a lot of that. So he's a wonderful guy. And I've only known him through the podcast, the conversations, but I am planning to go to Guyana next year and do one of those expeditions and hopefully meet Anders and do a bit of a in-person documentary style podcast whilst having hopefully an epic adventure. So that was that's an episode that stuck with me as well. That's made me make some plans, which is great.
I hope your boss isn't listening, but I feel like you need to like quit your job and just.
Funny because my wife and I we planned the year last night in terms of holidays or vacations, and I only get so many days, so I'm going to have to buy days next year so that I can do all the things that we want to do, because there's not enough.
You only live once.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it.
Exactly.
Just do it. You kind of mentioned them already, but call to adventure, 7 summits, and pay it forward on your show, these features. Yeah,
absolutely. So my show, the Adventure Diaries podcast, that has a format and promises that I offer 3 promises on the show, and the first is a compelling story with the guest. So that is what it is. And then the format is that I have a call to adventure and I pay it forward at the section. So promise 1, that you'll get a compelling and interesting story. And 2, you'll get a call to adventure. So I will prompt my guests to give the listeners, including myself, a recommendation for an activity, a place, or whatever it may be, something to inspire people to go and do something. And my show goes out on a Thursday, so hopefully when people hear that, it will give them a call to action, a call to adventure to go and do something that weekend. And then finally, there is a pay it forward section, and that is about raising awareness for charities or projects or causes that sometimes people might not be fully aware of. And that's just really as a way to give back and raise more awareness. And it's not really to ask people to spend time, their money. It could be a contribution in time. It could be sharing a social post. And we've had recommendations from, the big things like World Wildlife Foundation, Doctors Without Borders, things like that. But we've also had things like, like causes that were the money goes directly to like farmers in like Africa to build fences to protect their crops and things like that, like Salvo Trust and things, or the women of Kagan do, I think, like Kathy, I never pronounce that, but that's to get like gifts to new mothers for their newborn children. So that's just a way of raising awareness for people that can give a little bit of time in terms of time and money. But going back to the call to adventure, that's really about making adventure accessible. So as I said, someone might be on talking about some world first, or they've climbed some peak in Alaska. But you and I are not going to go and do that at the weekend, are we? So we have other commitments and stuff. So we're trying to bridge the gap, make it accessible. So that's where that comes in. It's something local, something more accessible. And that's where my 7 summits recommendation came in. So I've had a couple of guests that inspired me to create a free tool. So I had a guy, Ollie France, and he spoke about, in fact, rolling back, I had another guy, Alistair Humphreys, who I recommend you should get on your show if you haven't. And he, I think he also took the idea from someone else, but it was around doing your 7 local summits. So find out the local hills or peaks in your area and go and do those 7 rather than going to Denali and Mount Everest and Kilimanjaro. Do that. But then I had another guest, Ollie France, who took it a step further, and he says find the lowest elevation in your area and go from the lowest point to the highest point. So I took those 2 ideas, put them into a tool. So if you go to my website and just type Adventure Diaries, not dairies, adventurediaries.com/7, so the number 7, and that will forward you to a hiking tool. And what you can do is put your zip code, city, anywhere in the world, wherever you are, put that in. Just put the number 7, or if you want to do 5 instead of 7, you can put that in, and that will plot out. It will find the lowest elevation and it will find the highest elevation, and it will give you the map, and you can click and open it in Google Maps.
Can I do it right now? So adventurediaries.com/7,
just the number 7.
Yeah. I'm just doing it right.
And
do you still own Adventure Dairies?
No. In fact, I need to, maybe, actually.
Location, radius, I'll put 5 miles, number of routes, 5.
And if you're lucky, it will...
Oh, cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and there's also a bit of an Easter egg in that as well. So I developed that a little bit further, where I had a guest. He is a filmmaker and a journalist for the Boston Globe, David Abel, and his recommendation was to go to waterfalls on a hike. He likes to find a waterfall.
Yeah, I see the waterfall routes. Yeah, because there's a few waterfalls near here because we're right near the river.
So it'll find all your hikes and it'll give you waterfall options as well. So, and you can do that anywhere in the world. And I recommend if someone wants a challenge this weekend, you don't need to put 7. You can put 1, 2, but find it. Go find your lowest elevation. Pack a bag, get some snacks, get some lunch, and get out to that peak. And it might only take you half a day or a day.
Your season 4, like we're recording this in January, but when is your season 4 supposed to come out?
Yeah, it should be live by the time this comes out, and there are some phenomenal guests on that already. So, and so I'm not sure if you will know some of these, because some of them are a little bit obscure. But I've had Megan Hine, who is, I'm assuming you know Bear Grylls.
Bear Grylls, yeah.
So Megan Hine is one of Bear Grylls' best friends. So Megan was one of the ladies that kind of started her career in the backdrop of of Bear Grylls, doing all the stunt rigging and all the its adventure safety for all the shows. So Running Wild with Bear Grylls, all that's Megan Hine and stuff in the background. So Megan, and the good fortune of meeting Megan actually and the Outdoor Expo, me and my wife and my little girl. So and she's an inspiration especially for my little girl as well, the female angle. So that's phenomenal. That was a great episode. That was a long time making because she was off in the hills of Mongolia and stuff. So it was trying to pin down a time was fantastic. So that was a really big thing getting Megan. So she'll be episode 1 on that. And I just recorded another episode about, which people may find surprising, like Lebanon. It's in the Middle East. It's in a conflict, near a conflict zone. Things are hopefully at the time of this settling down. There's all the ceasefire that's going on there at the moment. But irrespective of all that, there's a fantastic guy, a fantastic company that take people on adventures into the back country. And who would have thought that you can do winter expeditions, skiing, snowshoeing in the Middle East? Yeah, so there's the host of fantastic stories coming up in that. So
Season 4, The Adventure Diaries.
Yes.
It's adventurediaries.com.
Yes.
Not Adventure Diaries. Adventurediaries.com. Chris, I've loved this conversation so much. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. That has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for listening. For more Let's Take This Outside, go to letstakethisoutside.ca.
Produced and distributed by the Sound Off Media Company.